Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 38 of the NordCast. It is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. It is episode number 38. I am Nordic97 here, all depressed because of the Phillies. I'm also joined here with Carter, who looks like he's in a dungeon. How we doing, Carter?
Doing good. I'm at my grandparents for the week, and and I forgot to bring all my podcast stuff. So you get patchy Carter today.
Yeah, Carter's mic might not be very good, so I do apologize for that on the audio and video end. And then we got Jack. How we doing today, Jack?
Doing good.
That Eagle called back, looking like Patty Kane Selly though.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So we usually don't talk about other sports, but I want to bring this up because I've been thinking about it a lot today. You know, last night the Philadelphia Phillies, my favorite baseball team, lost in Game 7 to the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NCLS, and they're out. No World Series this year, unlike last year. And last night was the first time in nearly 3 years I actually chose to believe in a team. And I want to preface, I have not been on the planet very long. I'm 16. So I haven't seen the 2010 finals. I was like 3 years old. I haven't seen, a lot of the losses that Philly sports has gone through that other people have. But the first time that I really believed in a team to win in the playoffs when it mattered was in 2020 when the Flyers were playing the Islanders in Game 7. Honestly, I thought that with the 2 overtime wins we had, coming back from down 3-1, I genuinely thought we were going to win Game 7, and we didn't, and it crushed me. Absolutely crushed me. And for that, it kind of left me at a stopping point where, like, for a long time, I didn't believe in teams. Like, I didn't believe in the Flyers for a very long time after that. I still really don't. I never really believed in any other sports until this year when the Phillies came along. And honestly, even last year too, like when we made it to the World Series, I just thought we weren't going to win because it's just Philly sports. This year, though, the way that team was playing, the way they were just hitting balls and scoring on offense and playing so well pitching wise, besides Craig Kimbrell, I genuinely thought we were going to win a World Series with that team. And the fact that not only do we lose a game at Citizens Bank Park, but we lose 2 straight in Citizens Bank Park, blowing a 2-0 lead and a 3-2 lead in the series, it's just awful. And to think that, like, it's always the safe play to, like, always, say, oh, they're going to lose, no doubt. But believing in them and then them not coming out on top, it hurts. And this is the first time I've actually felt pain in sports in a very long time that doesn't involve rebuilds and, Chuck Fletcher pissing me off. So I want to ask you guys, and, people who are watching this, I'm sure you guys have your own heartbreaking sports moments too, but it doesn't have to be just hockey. What is a sports moment? It can be playoffs or not. What is one sports moment that just absolutely crushed you? Any of you can go first. It can be football, basketball, anything.
I have my answer already. You guys are gonna like it, because it's the Bears double doink against the Eagles. Yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, 2018. Bears haven't really been good in my lifetime. They made it to the Super Bowl in 2006, which is the year I was born. So that's like the last time they actually had a deep playoff run. And as you guys know, Bears can never get a quarterback. No quarterback success within like 100 years of the franchise. And that 2018 team, I mean, it had a good mix of that defense. Probably the best defense in the league that year. And then the offense, like the defense turned the offense, like started them a good field position all the time. And just like, Mitchell Trubisky was good that year. And just like, they had to lead the whole game. Cody Parker comes out for like a 40-yard field goal to win the game, and he double doinks it. And I yelled and I just walked away.
Yeah, I actually watched that game, and I am not an avid football fan, but I remember watching that moment. Is there any other ones that you can think of? Hockey, you really can't because you won 3 cups. You can
2014 against the Kings, that was pretty rough, but
I guess. I mean, I guess, but
yeah. But I've had it good with the Hawks, so
yeah. Carter, what do you got? You're probably very similar to me because you're like a Philly sports fan. Is there any like Canadian teams too, or?
Yeah, so I can list a couple. Like I feel like the obvious one would be the Patrick Kane goal, but I was 5 years old when that happened, so it doesn't really resonate with me as much. I can give a football one. Last year, the holding call on James Bradbury, that one stung. Jalen Hurts fumble, like a lot. That hurt. So last year's Super Bowl was definitely one where it hurt, and then one that really kind of sucked was Game 3 of Round 1 of last year's playoffs. Jets come back down 4-1, get all this energy back, and then the life gets sucked out. And as I probably mentioned, I was at that game, and it was awesome until it wasn't.
You were. We talked about that many times during the playoffs last year. Yeah. So the basic summary of that is I thought it'd be a fun topic to start off with, but sports break our hearts. Just is what it is. I honestly thinking about it, like the only one of us that's seen like one of our teams win a championship. I guess me because the Eagles, but I'm not a big football guy. But Jack winning 3 cups with the Hawks.
And the Cubs.
And the Cubs too. Carter.
I got the Blue Bombers, okay? We won back-to-back championships. Could have been a 3-peat, but we missed the field goal. That's besides the point.
Yeah. So everyone besides me then, I guess, has seen their team win championships. And maybe that's because I pick shitty teams to root for, or it's just because I have bad luck, which is 2 very likely things. So with that being said, we'll move on. I want to talk about, before we get into the other news that is happening, the Frozen Frenzy happened yesterday at the time of recording of this podcast. Now, this podcast will release on Thursday. But Carter, I don't think even had access to it. They didn't even have access to it in Canada. Did you even watch it?
So I was at work, and I tried to find a stream for it. And the site that I used to like stream all my games and everything did not have it. So I was unable to watch the like NHL Red Zone style. I still caught a couple games, but it probably was not as fun as some of you other folks had in the States because we get jack shit in Canada.
Yeah, Jack, did you see it? Did you watch it?
I watched like 30 minutes of it. I watched the late games on it, but the Hawks are on at 7, so I just watched that game.
All right. I didn't watch it at all because the Phillies were playing, and then I watched just the Flyers game, which Paul Cotter, just, career, like what, bottom 6 player, no disrespect to Paul Cotter, but embarrasses Zamula and, just absolutely snipes on Carter Hart. That's another question I have. And I thought this would be a fun thing to post maybe on the Instagram or maybe on the TikTok. What is one goal, this is hockey related, what is one goal against your favorite team that was just so unbelievably nice that you watched that, like, you respect? Like, what's the nicest goal you've seen scored against your team? That's
Cale Makar. When he spun on Doc and just broke Fleury's ankles.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be your answer. I think mine might be the Cotter goal. It honestly might be. Carter, do you have one? You might need to think.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head.
Want us to come back to you?
I don't even know if I'll be able to think of one, but sure. If I come up with it by the end of the episode, I'll just yell it out loud.
Okay. Well, I hate to break this to y'all, but we have some breaking news. So we talked about last week on the podcast, we talked about the decentralization of the draft and how we were entirely against it. Well, it's just been confirmed that the teams approved it, and that format is expected to start in 2025. So, for those who don't know what we mean by that, the ballots were due on Tuesday for this thing, and it basically means that they are going to have no teams go to the draft in 2025. The teams won't be there. And it'll basically just be prospects and fans. Teams will do everything from home. And apparently a vast majority of teams voted to do this. I understand why, but move the goddamn free agency back. Like I said this in the other episode. Move free agency back a little bit. You don't need to have it within like 2 goddamn days of each other. And that is the whole reason why this is happening. If free agency was like a week after the draft, this wouldn't be a problem. But now, I think it's stupid, and I know like we'll never be able to experience this. Like I probably will go to the draft in Vegas now that this is officially happening. I want to go see it for real. I probably am going to try and go. Now that we see this, like it ruins it. Like, and as I mentioned in the other episode, like it was players' dreams to like go up, shake the commissioner's hand, shake the GM's hand, do all of that, and now it's just no good. Not going to happen anymore. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? Like, I think it's stupid. I think we all said it was dumb. Just,
I mean,
just same thing of what we said last week. As you mentioned, it's special for the players to go up there and meet everybody right away, and get a couple pictures. And as you said, the commissioner. So yeah, I think they're taking away a great opportunity for the players, and it just kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is what it is, but it's just annoying to see that change happen. Yeah. Anywho, moving on. Yesterday, there was a play during the Sabres versus Senators game where Brady Tkachuk was facing a 1-game suspension for an instigating call on Alex Tuch. Did y'all see this play? It was on Puck Report.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Well, the suspension has been rescinded. He's actually, I believe he's getting fined, if I'm correct. Not entirely too sure, but he's being rescinded of that suspension. I thought it was quite interesting to see how he got knocked over by Tuch, and he's just like, oh, hell no, I ain't taking that. And he just got up, dropped the gloves immediately, and started fighting Tuch. Like, didn't even give him, like, a chance. So it's interesting. I want to talk about Rasmus Andersson now. So the Calgary Flames defenseman Rasmus Andersson was suspended 4 games for a charging call on Patrick Laine. And in my opinion, I think that this is the right call. I think it is a good 4-game suspension. Like, if y'all saw it, like, he literally jumped up, hit him, head contact was there. It looked intentional. It really looked intentional. And I know Flames fans were complaining about how, it's a different amount of games than it has been in previous years. Like a call for that 3 years ago would have been like 1 or 2 games. It shows that the NHLPA or the NHL player safety is trying to cut down on these things more. And they're not going to let things like that happen. They're going to try and protect the players more, which I think is good. And Anderson tried to appeal the suspension because he's actually missing the Heritage Classic, which I believe is on Saturday, I think, of this week against the Oilers. And yes, undeniably so. It's a shitty game to miss. It's outdoors. You don't get to play outdoors often in your NHL career. Some players never do, and it sucks. But it just is what it is. Like Bettman said that he doesn't value that game over any other regular season game, which I think is the right move. And it just shows that they're making an example out of him. That the NHLPA is not going to take any of that. So that's definitely something I saw that I thought was interesting. So the NHL, as well as that too, along with the other things I mentioned, they have rescinded the Pride Tape law, where you like banned Pride Tape. I don't know what your guys' stance on that was. I don't even think we talked about it, but I think it was a kind of a dumb law to begin with. It's tape. It's tape. I mean, like, yeah, you're trying to represent something, but in the grand scheme of things, it's tape. It's literally tape. So I think it's the right move. It doesn't really matter at that point. Some injury news: Burakovsky's out 6 to 8 weeks with an upper body injury. Additionally, David Savard is out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured hand, and Connor McDavid is out 1 to 2 weeks with an upper body injury. How does this affect Edmonton? I'm asking you guys. How does this affect Edmonton?
They're screwed for 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah, like they've already been playing bad, and we're going to transition to them in a second here, but just like they just don't look good. Like I went to the game where they played the Flyers. They don't look like they have competent goaltending. They don't look like they have competent defense. They just look like the same team that we saw last year. And last night in that 7-4 loss against the Minnesota Wild, it showed that, like they played well. Jack Campbell played solid. He did show up. He played all right, but they still let in 7. They still let in 7 goals. And it just shows that, like, they're going to need to change something here in the goalie market or in the defense, or else they're never going to come close to a cup. Never. Like I don't think they will. Honestly, in that 2022 run, if it weren't for Vegas missing, I don't think they make it out of the second round, or maybe even the first round. Like honestly, just with that team, just like something needs to change, and it needs to happen soon. Absolutely. So yeah. Any thoughts on the Oilers? This is gonna be our Oilers segment. So you guys have anything to say?
Nope.
They gotta play better. This has been pathetic for the supposed favorite for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's all I got for news. We'll go to Jack Gessaplier now. So we're 0-1. I fumbled last week, and I fumbled hard. For those who watched that, basically what we did is we asked if the team lost in the first round. Jack said yes. So it was like between Colorado and Minnesota at that point, and I said, "Is your player on Dallas?" I said, "Is your player on Dallas?" And yeah, that's on me. So we're gonna try and run it back. It's week 2. We're 0-1 in season 2. All time we haven't won one, but you know what? Maybe this is the week where it changes. Carter's not in his own house, so maybe this is how we do it. So yeah, Carter, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. Jack, is your player in the Western Conference?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that helps. Jack, is your player in the Central Division?
No.
Okay, so we're looking at Pacific.
Okay. Yeah, I think we got enough. Jack, is your player in Canada?
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
Is your player in Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, I think.
No. Winnipeg Central.
Oh, you're right. That's Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver then.
Thank you.
So we're down to 3 teams. All right, Jack, is your player on a Alberta team?
Let me pull up a map.
That's Edmonton or Calgary. Let me just save you the time.
Okay, no.
So we're looking at Vancouver.
Yes.
We're looking at Vancouver. All right. And what? We each have one question. Carter, we can't fail this.
I got you.
Hang on.
You guys texting?
No, I'm texting my grandma.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm looking at their roster. Hang on.
I know. Jack, are we looking... Actually, you know what? Let me...
Dude, how do I pull... Oh, here we go. I hate the new NHL app. This is so bad.
I have an idea for a new type of question. Jack, does your player have more than 4 points this season?
No.
Ooh.
Oh, well, that does not help.
DiGiuseppe, Garland, Lafferty, Mikheyev, Tyler Myers, Ian Cole. Okay, there's a lot of players here that do not have more than 4 points.
Okay, let me... 1, 2, 3, 4...
Is this the last question?
5. Yeah, this is my last question.
Okay.
This week, Nord.
Wait, no, hang on. Let me count this. We're going to have a little bit of an intermission.
So, Jack, how was...
Wait, does 4... Okay, this is not my question, but does 4 points include, like, does less than 4 points include exactly 4, or is it less than 4?
No, so like 4 and above.
Oh, 4 and... Okay, all right.
Yeah, so yeah.
So he has 3 or less.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Wait, hang on. I gotta mute real quick.
Jack answered that
Okay.
really quick. Nordic, we could be
Okay.
looking at a goalie here. He did answer that extremely quick.
True.
Okay.
I'm gonna try. We're right on. We're right on him. We're right on his ass. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try a position. Jack, is your player a forward?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, Carter, if you guess a defenseman and he says no, he has to tell us the position.
Well, yeah, but I can also just get goal. Say goal.
You can.
Right.
Wait, why do I have to tell you the position if he says?
That's a new rule we had this season.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Jack. Your player Thatcher Demko?
No.
All right. So it's a defenseman.
It's Casey DeSmith. It's Casey DeSmith. It's Casey DeSmith.
Jack. Is your player Casey DeSmith? Yes! We won! We finally won one!
I told you!
Oh my god!
Nordic, I told you it was a goalie.
Oh
We did it! We did it!
No.
Hey,
We did it!
That's the Carter clutch.
We did it! Oh my god!
I knew I shouldn't have gone goalie, bro.
Oh
No,
my
Jack,
gosh,
the
we
thing
did
was,
it!
you answered points way too quick.
Yeah.
If you would've been like, hold on, let me check. I would have been like, oh, there's no way he's going goalie. But because you said it so quick,
Oh
I'm like,
man, I sold myself.
Oh Lord, yes, we did it.
That is a primary assist to me by far.
That's a good observation, man.
I was gonna go to Smith too, but I'm like, if it's not, like,
I was gonna go Demko originally, but then I changed it up like right before we started recording.
yeah.
Yeah, well, we would have gotten Demko, so you know. All right. Hold on, hang on a second. Okay, so now we're gonna transition into talking about a couple teams. We already talked about Edmonton, so we'll move on from Edmonton. I want to talk about starting off with the three undefeated teams right now. So we'll start with Boston. Jack will definitely have some thoughts on Boston. They played them last night. Boston is currently 6-0 with 12 points, and they are second in the NHL in the overall standings. And they have played very well. However, I do want to say this. They have played some relatively weaker teams. Their schedule has consisted of Chicago, Anaheim, San Jose, just to name a couple of the teams they played. So, Jack, I'm going to go to you first, and then we'll go to Carter, and then we'll come back to me. What are your overall thoughts on the Boston Bruins right now? How are they playing? Do you think the undefeated streak is going to go longer than 6?
Who do they play next?
They play the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, right. Okay. I think they'll beat the Ducks and then lose their next game. But yeah, the Hawks have played them twice already, so we're done with them for the year. So thank God for that. But to be honest with you, their offense doesn't look very good. It's the goaltending and the defense, I think, that's really carrying this team. The Hawks only had 1 goal in 2 games against them, and I mean, it was just shut down last night. The Hawks couldn't get anything going, maybe like 3 or 4 high, like grade A scoring chances. And I mean, yeah, other than that, it's just locked down from their decor and their goaltending. And I mean, Allmark and Swayman, we all know what they can do. Just night in, night out. Just always giving their best effort, and always giving the team a chance to win. And I think if the offense gets going, I think this can be a scary team. I don't think it's as scary as the other undefeated teams, being Vegas and Colorado right now. But I think if their top guys can get going, I think this is a scary team once again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think honestly, watching some of the games that I've watched, they have been playing a lot more defensively and like their goaltending's been doing a lot for them. So I definitely agree with that. I feel like this year they're going to win a lot by defense. But yeah. I also do think that if the offense, like Poitras has looked great, the rookie in Boston, he's looked great. I think he scored last night against Chicago. So he's looked awesome. Pasternak's starting to heat up a little bit. So is Marchand. Just the team overall looks really good right now. And I think they could honestly win out the month because they play Anaheim, then they play Detroit, then they play Florida. It's very possible they could just win out all of October and start the season off 9-0. Carter, do you have any thoughts on Boston? I know you haven't talked much because of your mic, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm usually a talkative guy. I don't know. I think Boston's got a great roster. They kind of found a guy who can replace Bergeron there and Courtois, their rookie there. He's looked solid, I must say. I think he's definitely a dark horse for the Calder this year. I do think they can win out the month. I think trouble starts in November for them because they got Toronto, and then they're in Detroit, and then they're in Dallas. So I think that they'll lose one of those first three in November, and that'll be the end of their undefeated streak.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly do think they'll win out October. Now watch them when this podcast is uploaded. They lose to Anaheim. That's just our luck.
Probably.
Let's talk about Colorado. Colorado is in the same spot as the Avalanche. They are 6-0 for 12 points. They are third in the NHL. Their games have consisted of the Los Angeles Kings, the San Jose Sharks, the Seattle Kraken, the Blackhawks, and the Carolina Hurricanes, and the New York Islanders. So again, a lot of much easier teams there. Not discrediting any of those teams whatsoever, but obviously San Jose hasn't even won a game yet. Seattle's been struggling. Chicago has not been very good. No offense, Jack. And Carolina's been struggling offensively too. But they are playing well. I like the offense I'm seeing from the guys. I like the way Makar's playing. I like the way they're all playing. So Jack, again, another team where you guys have played them recently. So what are your thoughts on the Avalanche and how they're going right now? You said they're better than Boston, so.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the league right now. And, just their roster, Georgiev looking like a Vezina type goalie right now. And I think he's 6-0, and his save percentage is just off the charts, I believe. And, just kind of like Boston, just not giving the Hawks anything. And I know the Hawks don't have a great offense, and shutting them down as they should. And I mean, they've really shut everyone down to this point. And with that top line and McKinnon, Rantanen, guys that put up 100+ points every year. And they're just a scary team. I think they're my cup pick for now.
Yeah. Carter, you got any thoughts on the Avalanche?
No, but they haven't really played anyone too solid, other than really the Hurricanes there. That's probably the best team that they did, and they beat them 6-4, but their goaltending's been solid to start the year. Like most goals they've given up is 4, but they did do that twice in back-to-back games. But I do think that this is where their competition will start to ramp up, because they're in Pittsburgh and they're in Buffalo, then they have a nice little home stand there against St. Louis, and then they take on Vegas in Vegas and the Devils at home. So I think kind of the same thing. I think that Buffalo will give them some trouble, but then I think that they'll drop one definitely against Vegas.
Yeah, I agree with that too. On to the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas played last night, and they advanced to 7-0-0 for 14 points, if I can do math correctly. And they are first in the NHL as of right now. They haven't lost a game if you disclude preseason. They haven't lost a game since June, early June, of this past year. So they're playing really well. They have played teams again. It's ironic. Again, another weak schedule. They played Seattle. They played San Jose. They played Anaheim. They barely edged out on Dallas. They beat Winnipeg. They beat Chicago, and then they beat Philadelphia last night. Which Philadelphia damn near pulled it off. I'm gonna talk about Philadelphia. We pretty much outshot them for the majority of the game, and then just after the 10-minute mark of the third, we just died. Everyone just died. But it was another game where they found a way to win. And Paul Cotter, a guy who, isn't well known throughout the league. No disrespect to Paul Cotter, but he isn't a well-known player. Scores an amazing goal that we mentioned earlier and just is playing awesome right now. So, Jack, again, another team that's played your Hawks. How are you feeling right now about Vegas?
Yeah, we played all three of those teams, and for me, it was like Boston and Colorado. It was just all Boston, all Colorado, all game. Just they didn't shut down at all. And then I think for Vegas, it was more like 50-50 for the Hawks. I think it was 5-3 if I'm correct. 5-3
It
against the
was.
Hawks. They
It
won.
was. It was.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, 5-3. Hawks got the first goal of that game, and it was pretty even. Honestly, it was tied. I think going into the third, and yeah, I mean they just didn't give off the same vibes as the other two undefeated teams did for me. So
Yeah, I feel like I feel like as well as this too. They play Chicago, they play Los Angeles, and they play Montreal. So they play Chicago again, Jack. But I feel like they're also going to win out October, just with the way they're playing. So yeah, Carter, you got any thoughts on Vegas?
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think that Vegas is actually as good as their 7-0 record's showing. Like against the Jets, they scored a goal late and then an empty netter. So really, that's a 1-goal game. Against Philly, it's a 1-goal game. Dallas was a 1-goal game. I mean, the Sharks and Ducks, not 1-goal games, so that's fine. And as Jack said, the Blackhawks kind of played extremely well against them. So I think that, they're not squeaking out these big victories. Like, they're yet to be tested, in my opinion. I think Dallas was their best test so far, but I think that they'll end up dropping one against LA or Montreal here. I think that it's time, even though that they're not nearly as good as Vegas is. I think they'll get the best of them there.
So you think that I'm not trying to like twist your words or anything. Do you think that this is luck that some of these games they're playing?
I wouldn't say luck. I think they're playing some good hockey, but their games have been way too close against the competition that they're being. Like, they're 7-0. The Blackhawks are 2-5, and they beat them by 2. Technically, the Jets game was pretty much a 1-goal game because it was a late game empty netter. The Jets are 3-3. Flyers, they beat them by 1. Flyers are, I don't know what the Flyers are. They're 3-3 as well. I just
3,
don't
2, and
think
1.
that what they've shown. 3-2-1. My bad.
Yeah, you're good.
But anyways, I just don't know if this team has been tested with some real competition yet.
Yeah, that is factual. Like honestly, 2 of the 7 games that they played against were only playoff teams. Only 2 of the 7. I think I think that's better than some of the other teams that we talked about with undefeated teams. But 5 of them are non-playoff teams, or actually no, 3 of the 7. Sorry, I often forget Winnipeg was in the playoffs. 3 out of the 7 were playoff teams. Yeah, sorry, Carter. But yeah, out of these 3 teams, which one do you guys think will last the longest? Like, who will stay undefeated the longest? I think Jack says Colorado.
yeah, I can't see you, by the way, Nordic.
You can't see me?
I can.
No.
It might just be your Wi-Fi because
Okay.
I'm showing up.
It's years because there was one time I couldn't see you.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But who do you think will last the longest, Carter?
I think it'll be Colorado, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be Colorado as well. Moving on now, we're gonna talk about. I wanted to talk about a few other teams. We'll talk about we'll stay on the conference. Let's talk about Chicago since Jack is here. Chicago currently is 2-5, if I'm correct, as Carter said. However, I would say 2-5 for a schedule that Chicago has had is actually pretty decent. Let's look at their records. So they've played against Pittsburgh, a non-playoff team. They played against Boston, a playoff team. They played against Montreal, a non-playoff team. Then you play against Toronto, playoff team. Colorado, playoff team. Vegas, playoff team. Boston, playoff team. And then you play against Vegas again on Friday, playoff team. And then you finish out the month with Arizona, non-playoff team. So only 3 of those, first 8 games are non-playoff teams. So, Jack, it doesn't have to be just Bedard, but how do you think the Blackhawks are playing right now against these high-end teams?
Not that great, to be honest. I think like the first 4 games, ending with the Leafs. I think they looked like a pretty solid team, but I mean the last 3 games, starting with Colorado and then Vegas and then Boston again, they just didn't look that great. I mean Vegas, you can make the case, kind of like same shots on goal, similar shots on goal, all that. But yeah, I think they started off much better. I don't know if it's a stamina thing, but I mean, even our coach Luke Richardson, he said he's just tired of like not winning one-on-one puck battles, chipping it in and just giving up kind of. And I don't want to say it's an effort thing, but I don't know. It might be, but this team was very chippy last year, and I feel like it's the same this year, but I don't know. I don't think they have any shot at the playoffs.
I mean, none of us thought we would, except for you.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, like it's a part of the rebuild. You aren't going to come out of it immediately like an amazing team with just one player. It takes more than one player. Like they didn't become insane when Patrick Kane just came. Like they weren't a cup team right away. It took like 3 years, but still 3 years. Bedard, speaking of like a generational player, Bedard's played 7 games, has 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. He's a -4. Jack, in your opinion, do you think that with Connor Bedard, were the expectations too high with him on Chicago?
Probably for his rookie year, but like the people, kind of predicting like further ahead, I don't think it's too far. I think he's gonna have a great career. But this year, maybe a little bit. I still think he'll hit that point per game mark. He's got 4 and 7 right now. He had a goal taken back last night. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think he's looked pretty good. I think one of the best players on the team up to this point.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. Now, Carter, first off, do you have anything to say about the Blackhawks? Anything at all? Not really. All right, let's talk about your Jets then. I'm going to give you some time to speak. So the Jets currently are what? They're 3-3, correct? You said 3-3, right? I think it's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, we're not going to talk about attendance because we talked about that in the last episode. But what are your thoughts on the Jets as a team right now? How do you think they're playing?
Inconsistent. That's
Inconsistent.
my one word, is inconsistent. We lose a game that was very, very close if it wasn't for Markstrom. A game we probably would win against the Flames. And then we walk all over Florida. We're feeling on top of the world. And then we get blown out by LA. 5-1. Then we lose a very close game against Vegas that I said they scored late and then got an empty netter. So really a 1-goal game, and we play great hockey. We play Edmonton, a team that should be a top team but is playing really bad hockey. We beat them by 1. St. Louis, a team that is pretty mediocre, I'd say, the St. Louis Blues, because they're 2-1, so they went into this as 2-1-1, and we beat them by 2. So I don't know. I just need to start seeing a level of consistency against where either we play really bad against the good teams and really good against, like just a nice middle, or where we're just good or just bad. I don't want to see us be in the middle of mediocrity for years and years to come. So I think we got to start playing better hockey against some of these teams that we should be competing with. Like LA, we should be here with them. Like Jets and LA Kings, like that should be a tight game where it should be 1-2 score, maybe overtime or something like that. But to lose by 4, like that's just not something you want to see against a team that you should be close to, if not beating. So I think that's my issue with them, is that we just got to find a good level of playing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a rough start. I feel like, or not really a rough start, kind of a mediocre start, as you said. I think eventually they may pick it up, depending on what their schedule looks like.
Yeah.
But the hope is that they'll at least be somewhat competitive. But just overall, again, you're in that really weird spot right now as a team, and you just don't know where to go, right?
Yeah, I do like how most of our guys have been playing, though. Like, the only thing is Connor Hellebuck has not looked 2-2 solid. He's got a 3.39 and an 8.81 right now. Like that's not what you want to see out of your star Vezina goaltender. But the rest of our skaters have been good. Like Mark Scheifele's over a point per game. Connor and Morrissey are at a point per game. And then one guy who I've actually really liked, Rasmus Kupari. I guarantee not a lot of guys know him. We acquired him in the trade from LA. I have really liked his game. He brings a nice element to this roster, and I just love his fit on this team. And one of the nice things about having him is, all of our lines, we can roll 4 lines now. Like I think that we have a decent amount of depth to be able to do that now. Whereas when we had Dubois, we couldn't really do that there. So I like how our roster is scheduled. We just gotta get going.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on now. We're gonna talk about my team, Arizona Coyotes, and we're not gonna talk about the Flyers. I want to wait a little bit. It's still too early. If by next week we still are above 500, then I'll talk about them. But we'll wait till next week. I want to talk about Arizona. Arizona's been interesting with me because I believe they are also 3-3 currently, but they aren't playing bad. They're playing entertaining hockey. Like, I've watched a few of their games. I watched the 2-1 win against the Anaheim Ducks and the 6-3 loss against the Los Angeles Kings, so the 2 most recent games. But I really like how they're playing overall. They seem very competitive. They kept up with the New Jersey Devils. They kept up with the New York Rangers. A little bit of a bad game against the Islanders, but they still played decent. They played well against the St. Louis Blues, and then they beat out the Anaheim Ducks. And against the Kings, they played competitive. They played well. They kept up with them. They just couldn't score, and the goaltending wasn't ideal either. I like the way this team's playing right now, and I feel it shows in their game that they are a lot better than they were last year. And Clayton Keller's really leading the way again, 7 points in 6 games. But Logan Cooley doesn't have a goal yet, but he's 5 assists in 6 games. So the hope is soon he will get a goal. I really hope soon. But yeah, just overall, I like the way Arizona's playing, and just, I like how entertaining they are. And I think I said this somewhere, but I really do think that they will make the playoffs this year, but they will make the playoffs next year. I think next year is the year where we say, yes, they should be in the playoffs. That should be the expectation. And that does not make me happy. That makes me so happy. That's what I'm trying to say. And I hope that, it's gonna lead to positivity. So the last team we're going to talk about for this episode is the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I understand that there's some other teams that we could talk about, but we're going to talk about Detroit because Detroit, even though they lost to Seattle in overtime, they have been absolutely red hot to start the year. I think they're like 5-1-2. They have looked really, really good offensively. Defensively, they've looked solid. Just overall, the team looks awesome right now, and I want to talk about them a little bit. So, they were on a 5-game winning streak before they lost in overtime. Guys like Dylan Larkin were leading the way with 14 points in 7 games. That's 2 points per game on average. Jack's boy, Alex DeBrincat, has 9 goals in 7 games for 13 points. So he's really picked up the pace, and he's one of our trending players, so we're going to bring him up here. But yeah, DeBrincat I've liked a lot. Shane Gostisbehere too has looked good. Siders looked good as well. Just overall, the team altogether right now looks so entertaining. So, yeah, you guys have any thoughts on the Red Wings, just how they've been playing? And do we think that, with the way they're playing right now, can they make the playoffs?
Yes, absolutely.
Carter?
100%. This team has looked unreal.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I really like the way they're playing. Just overall, just their overall energy, their skill. And Justin Hall leading the way in plus-minus with +8. Never thought I'd see that. God is real.
It's surprising.
Yeah, God is real. I guess that's all we got in regards to teams. We're going to move into trending players here real quick. So some of the guys that I've noticed who have played very well, one of them is Jack Hughes, who has 14 points in 5 games. I've liked Hughes a lot as a very noticeable forward out there. He is tied for first in the NHL in points currently. Another guy that I've liked too is William Nylander with 10 points in the past couple of games. He's been on a heater. He's going to get paid some good money. He is going to get paid a lot of good money for sure. So yeah, I like Nylander a lot. Other guys that I've seen, obviously Matthew Poitras has looked good, but Caden Korzak, he is third in rookie scoring with 4 points. He's looked good there too. Could be a potential dark horse there for the Calder Trophy as a Vegas Golden Knights defenseman, but obviously we'll see if that happens. Some other notable things that have happened this past week in regards to players. Ryan Hartman scored a hat trick against the Edmonton Oilers yesterday. That was a great performance as well. DeBrincat with a hat trick against the Edmonton Oilers, against the Calgary Flames. So he's looked good as well. And then last but not least, obviously, Jonathan Quick having an insane performance just the past couple of games, playing against the Seattle Kraken, having a .70 goals against average, which I think is awesome. So, yeah, those are my trending players. Anybody have any more trending players? Nope. All right, well, then that's it. That'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you all very much for listening. We do appreciate episode 38. Apologies for a little bit of a shorter episode. Carter doesn't have his mic, so he's not talking as much because it's just the audio is not ideal. So that's part of the reason why it's a shorter episode. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Leave us a good review. Subscribe if you're new on the YouTube channel. But anyways, we'll see you guys in episode number 39 next week. Adios.